Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelorette Recap, a guy's review. This is week 2 of Michelle's season of Bachelorette, fall 2021. If you're wondering, do I sound sick? This is my 5 a.m. voice. It is so early in the morning, so much news to get to today. So I wanted to start with my Bachelorette recaps. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and like this video an odd number of times. As you guys know, I take notes, read them back to you. No edits, no jump cuts, just me and you guys. And let's get right into it. Episode 2 starts with the men all running onto the balcony and yelling, "Michelle!" Wouldn't you love to be the honeymooning couple, on the floor below? You're sleeping in. You're like, all right, finally some peace and quiet in Palm Springs. And then all of a sudden 20 guys are like, "Michelle, we want you." They got to get that opening shot. Somebody says she's special and everyone here knows it. Couldn't agree more. Michelle is super special. She is in the running for the best Bachelorette of all time, apparently. What do you guys think? Do you guys think she's just nailing it, setting healthy boundaries? Hey, does it make for good television? We'll have to see, but boy, does she know a thing or two about putting these guys in their place. Tayshia tells Michelle that the guys who aren't always in her face, give them a chance. What she's saying is, if a guy yells, "It's a pizza pie," and throws it in the air, maybe that's not for her. First date card, what I'm trying to say is there's nice guys like Jason Foster. Give them a shot. First date card goes to a dozen dudes. Today's lesson is love. The guys run after Michelle. They do that shot where they run around the corner. Michelle, Michelle. They run after her like they're in a Spartan race. Why don't they do a Spartan race for one of the, one of those Tough Mudder races where they got to, jump through hoops of fire? That's what the Bachelorette's all about. Women like a guy who will get severe burns for her. Michelle takes the group date to 5th grade, and then she has 3 5th grade friends who just proceed to emasculate these men. Do they pick the dumbest guys? Is there by the way, I'm gonna stir up some problems here, but I heard that there's an IQ test, and if you score too high to be a cop, they don't let you in some towns. Like, they want you to have an IQ below a certain level so you don't cause problems. Am I going to get in trouble for that? That's true, right? Look it up. Anyway, I feel like that's what they do on The Bachelor. They're like, all right, this guy's smart. Get him out of here. We don't need him. We want low IQ. I'm just kidding. Of course, they have some smart guys and then some not so smart guys. Peter's trying to impress Michelle, and one of the girls yells, "Leave her alone," right? The nice little girl, "Leave her alone." Kids have excellent intuition. We really should let the kids pick the roses here, right? They have good intuition. Probably better than the adults, because at least like Michelle's looking at the guys like with little fantasies on the mind. The kid's like, who's not a creep? Musical chairs. Did anyone else have PTSD growing up from the game musical chairs? And I was thinking, not to make light of PTSD. My father had it from the Vietnam War, but PTSD can come in different ways. And I think if you're in 5th grade and you got to play musical chairs in front of the whole school, I think that could give you PTSD. Every time you see a chair and the music turns off on a radio station, you just lunge for it like you're in Nam. I don't know. Maybe. We're all just scarred from our childhood, right? We're all scarred from gym class. Okay, Peter's the villain of the date. We figure that out. They have to spell narcissist, and someone spells Peter. Classic. Peter's, he goes full Yosef face. He just go full, he's just got that like men's rights haircut, right? Would a narcissist own multiple pizza joints? That's the question we have to ask. I don't know. Maybe would he? I don't know. If you can put your self-worth as a narcissist into pizza, you could have the best pizza joint in the world. I know you love yourself. Love the pepperoni as much as you love yourself, and you'll never go a day without making a lot of money. Michelle kisses Brandon, the guy who can't spell, but he can certainly read her lips. Hey, folks, how are you? There he is. Meanwhile, Peter pulls Will aside to chat, says it was inappropriate to call him a narcissist. First guy to get offended on Bachelorette always loses. It's a game of not getting offended. Read the 4 agreements, right? You get offended, you get trolled, you lose your cool, you're the first one to lose. Pizza this, pizza that. What else do you have to offer besides a slice, bro? That's a great t-shirt. What do you have to offer besides a slice, bro? Nothing. Casey calls Peter an insecurity supernova. Michelle pulls Peter aside, mentions she heard him yelling. All right, then we have Rick, the guy with the head of lettuce, brings Mad Libs for Michelle to perform. This is the smoothest pickup line I've ever seen. He just brings Mad Libs, and he's like, all right, fill in the blanks. And she's filling it in, and surprised. Boy, this was a good gimmick. right? I didn't think Rick would be, still around. When you're the head of the pizza, you just kind of like, I'm sorry, when you're the head of lettuce and they pull it's a gimmicky thing, right? But he's still around and he's actually a really good looking guy. She's really into him. And then he goes, by the end of the night, they share, and he, leaves it blank for her to fill out. And she goes, a kiss, and then they both smooch. It would have been fun if she was like a hand job, and I was like, whoa, hold on, and they just end it like a Looney Tunes episode. Boom, that's smooth. Speaking of smooth, how about this promo we have right here? I made this video of Katie Thurston trying stand-up comedy, but I made this 1 hour before it was announced that Katie and Blake broke up. So half the content in this video is defending why her relationship is going to last. So I couldn't upload this video. So instead, I put this video up on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. If you want to watch it, that's where it is. It makes no sense to make this public. I'm going to have to reshoot this video and upload a new version of it. But in the meantime, if you want to watch just a 20-second clip of Katie Thurston trying stand up in my comments about it, The Sun magazine slammed her for it, but I think it takes a lot of brass ovaries to do what she did. Anyway, like I said, half the content doesn't make sense because they then announced they broke up. So anyway, if you want to watch that, patreon.com/Dave Neal. Membership start at $5 a month. All right, let's keep it going. You like that little promo there? We're rolling it smooth. Nothing like the pre-sunrise voice of Dave Neal. All right, let's get into it. Brandon gets the rose, the bad speller, but he can read lips. First one-on-one date goes to Jamie, rock climbing in Joshua Tree. Michelle is on point with a hot pink climbing yoga set. Jeez, was that not the perfect color on her? I don't know anything about fashion, but when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a good color on her. And it's also nice if she like falls down and she's hiking and they're like, where did Michelle go? And they're like, just look for that beaming orb of pink. That's where she is. Jamie sort of coaches Michelle, and she said it was refreshing. She's used to being the coach, and he's like, yeah, put your foot there, put your arm there. So the coach gets coached. So they hike to the top, then they drink champagne. Well, what do they do after? They drunk descend? How do they get down from the top of the rock? They just drank a bunch of champagne and then fired a flare, and they're like, where are you? They're like, look for the pink orb. All right, it's a pink traffic cone. Trigger warning, suicide conversation. All right, trigger warning, that's what we do. Jamie talks about his suicidal mom, seeing her attempt it. She can't be left alone. Talks about what a heavy convo, right? He's misses school, so he couldn't graduate. I imagine being in math class and you're wondering if, you should be home with your mom and she's having issues. When he was 24, she finally, he says, committed suicide. What we have learned, thanks to a lot of your education, is that using the term committed, and again, we're not blaming him, it's just a shift in words. Words are important. What we've learned is that saying committed suicide, it's kind of a term that makes it feel like someone committed a crime or committed a sin. So instead of saying committed suicide, it's died by suicide. You wouldn't say someone committed a heart attack. You'd say they died of a heart attack. Suicide is an unfortunate result of an unaddressed mental illness, and it's too bad his mom wasn't able to get truly the help she needed, because no one in their right mind would want to put their family through that, and I feel for anyone out there who has had to deal with that. So that's that. So that's a tough convo. Everyone immediately feels for Jamie, and then later on we'll see, can you feel for someone and then also see them be such a utter villain in plain sight? We'll talk about that in a second. Joe got a phone call from his mom that his old coach passed away. This is something you can't plan for. You never want it. The worst thing you want on The Bachelor, Bachelorette is to have a producer hand you a phone. You're not allowed phones, cell phones, this or that. So the producers got a phone call that his old coach passed away. And of course, coaches to somebody who's had a very influential one, it's like a dad, it's like an uncle, family member. And so that was a tough scenario that he had to deal with, and then he'll bring it up in a little bit. Group date with two WNBA athletes, De'Arica Hambry and Diamond DeShields. Boy, Michelle's tall. These women tower over her. True athletes out there. Joe was named Miss Minnesota Mr. Basketball, which is the #1 high school player in the state. Michelle was the 2011 Minnesota Miss Basketball runner-up. Life was basketball, she says. So just a basketball family. But, do you want to marry someone who has all of your passions? I like that my fiance doesn't know a lick about baseball. I get to tell her all these war stories about baseball. Her eyes glaze over. She falls asleep. It helps her go to bed. Who needs NyQuil? Just listen to me talk about baseball. 5-on-5 date, losers go home. Winners get an after party with Michelle. They cast a local sports reporter. Pardeep couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat, folks, the local announcer says. Boy, he's winning the date. The local announcer, just what a highlight reel for him. Someone was like, I saw on Twitter, they were like, why didn't they cast Wells to be the announcer? I don't know, because maybe they thought it'd be fun to have a local announcer from Minnesota. I love this. Get me the most regional people ever and bring them on. I want the mayor of Eureka, Missouri out there cutting the big ribbon when our next Bachelor goes into Fantasy Suites. I want the local mayors handing the keys to Pound Town to the Fantasy Suite members. Okay. That big tape. One day I want to be able to cut the tape. The blue team wins, but who is that? Joe receives the MVP award and gets to join the after party. Joe mentions his coach passed away and how he found out today, and Michelle responds perfectly as expected. They talk about it. She says, you don't have to keep your composure. You don't have to be fine. And that's important. We talked about mental health earlier. It's important for us to remember that in life. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to keep your composure. If you feel like you need to break down or have a moment, go have a moment. Go take care of yourself. Release that tension. Deburden yourself. Of course, we've talked about this, how men in general don't share their emotions enough. And of course, the people of color, men of color, have an issue as well, where there's this stigma about crying or talking about your emotions. And that, building up that sort of exoskeleton can really cause a lot of inner sickness. It's true. You have to deburden yourself. You have to feel your feelings. And Michelle was perfectly fine to create the space and not be intimidated by Joe's emotions, to let him do that. Another point in Michelle's book as great Bachelorette, excuse me. She says she's never had chemistry with someone else so quickly. Then the guys on the other end ruminate over Joe and Michelle. Meanwhile, Nate is like, I'm not worried about it. Some of the other guys are like, oh, Joe, he's the guy, because Joe was on the losing team. He obviously got the MVP award because Michelle was like, she's just going to give people the MVP awards no matter what they're doing. There's no MVP. That guy gets it. He's coming with us. We're going to kiss on a couch. Nate and Michelle's conversation on the couch, eye contact, he's gushing. He's like giddy. He's so enamored by her. They have crazy chemistry. It's not often you refer to a 6'8" man as giddy. Nate was giddy. Nate was giddy for Michelle. Great emotions there. Joe gets the group date rose. Pre-rose ceremony cocktail hour. Michelle makes Rodney, the apple guy, do a blind taste test of the different apple types. She sneaks in like a Gala apple, Granny Smith apple. Then she throws a pizza in there. And then she's like, all right, next you're going to be tasting the, whatever. And then she goes in for the kiss, which I'm all about, read the room. But also it's kind of like he didn't consent to it. But we're not having that conversation. Obviously, he wanted the kiss. Maybe the consent was the fact that he was sitting on the couch with her. But I do wonder if that was in reverse. They blindfolded a lady and you're like, yeah, we're going to taste test some licorice. And then all of a sudden you're, she's like, that's a tongue. I feel like that would be something that we would kind of question. But anyway, when it works, it works. Jamie mentions that he's bothered that Michelle may have known Joe before the show. Malik is like, doesn't bother me. I'm going to do my thing. Stop making assumptions. Yeah, most of the guys are like, yeah, we don't care. If she likes another guy more than she likes me, then then we're not meant to be. Jamie tells a guy that a friend said they saw Michelle leave a bar with a guy that fits Joe's description before filming. Did Jamie make this up based on a hunch that he had? Jamie tells Michelle, there's been a whole bunch of talk today. Yeah, from you, Jamie. Jamie's like, all the guys are talking. And then they just cut to Jamie doing all the talking. Jamie tells Michelle it's taking a life on its own. He tells Michelle the story about a friend in Minneapolis that saw Michelle at a bar with a guy that looked like Joe. And then he goes, they're all saying Michelle is booed up, which everyone slammed me on my live stream because I didn't know it. I didn't know that booed up was a reference to a song. Everyone's like, yeah, the song was super popular. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just not cool, I guess. Jamie says he feels there was nothing there with me. So then Jamie talks to Michelle. After he accuses all the guys of being in on this thing where they all don't trust Michelle, he goes, yeah, I believe her. So he basically ran a lie through Michelle, looked her in the eyes, saw that she and didn't doubt her. But after that, the damage was done. It's like, you're not a detective. You don't get to just run these scenarios by somebody. This isn't an interrogation room. She's the gosh dang Bachelorette of the United States of America, and you got to treat her as such. She's Miss Minnesota 2011. Michelle calls out the rumors and says they aren't true. She says she says people always assumed that if you're out with a black man in public in Minnesota as a black woman that you are considered together, and that's not right. You can be friends with other black people. Michelle tells the guys to ask her any questions. It gets silent. Then she exits the room. Guys are like, did I miss something? Everyone's like, was I not there? Was I in the bathroom? Was I taking a phone call? When did this happen? And it didn't happen. Jamie made it all up. Jamie's awfully quiet as all the guys try and play detective. Yeah, the guys are like, man, whoever did this is the worst. Jamie's like, yeah, you're telling me. Yikes. Oh, boy. Jamie tells other guys, maybe it isn't one guy. Maybe it's an accumulation of chatter. Maybe it wasn't just one person. Maybe it was a bunch of little things. It's like, what a snake. It was you, Jamie. It was you all along. Caitlin and Tayshia come down to talk with the guys. They tell them Michelle is emotionally drained. I love that Caitlin and Tayshia become like PR people for Michelle. They're like, she's emotionally drained. She doesn't feel like talking to you. So we're going to go straight to the rose ceremony. I don't know why I became Donald Trump there. Yeah, she's the most fantastic bachelorette there's ever been. She's just so extraordinary. Every other bachelorette wishes they were as good as Michelle. And she's not coming to the rose ceremony because you don't treat her the way she needs to be treated. All right, build that emotional wall and wreck it down so we can get to love, okay? Fantasy suites for all. All right, there it is. There's my voice. Rose ceremony. No roses for a bunch of guys. Names I haven't learned yet, but plenty of questions the guys have for whomever started the rumor. A rat in our midst, they say. That rat will be known as Jamie. And then we'll see if they can get out the exterminator. I am the exterminator. What is with these accents? Impressions are horrible. We lose Pardeep, R.I.P. to Pardeep, not in real life, but on the show, second rounder. And then we also lost both firemen from Austin and Houston. So she was able to put out those flames, extinguished their love. We'll have to see if any of them make it to the beaches of Bachelor in Paradise. I've got so much content coming your way, guys. We have a breaking story from Reality Steve regarding the next couple seasons of Bachelor. So we'll get into that. Subscribe to this video. That will be up next. Thank you guys so much for watching. Much appreciate all of you, and we'll see you in the chat. Bye, everybody.